Good evening. Welcome to the Yorktown Central School District Board of Education meeting for October 5th, 2015. Can I have a motion to go into executive session for the matters pertaining to the employment history of particular individuals and contractual negotiations?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Can I have a motion to go back into public session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Oh, we have this.
You got it.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Yorktown Central School District Board of Education meeting for October 5th, 2015. Can we please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a moment of silence for our armed forces and those in our Yorktown School District who have lost loved ones, and especially remember Carol Jacobson, a third grade teacher who has retired from Brookside. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. Good evening. I first want to let everyone apologize. We had some speaker issues, so we only are dealing with one speaker in the front. If you can't hear, could you kind of shift around so you can? I apologize. We're going to start with good news, Ralph, right?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for being here, and welcome. I just wanted to say a word before we begin the good news about Carol Jacobson. Many of you in the audience remember Carol, and what we would remember most about her, at least from my standpoint, was how much she loved Yorktown schools, how much she loved the children, and how much she really, truly enjoyed teaching the third grade. Michelle Purpura reminded me that Carol used to read the children. She was a sailor. Her and her husband loved to sail, and Michelle had reminded me that she always read the children a book, Where Does My Teacher Live? And of course, the teacher lived all over the place because she spent a lot of time sailing. And the children were always fascinated at the end to realize that the teacher was living on a boat. But Carol was a fashionista. She loved to dress beautifully and always told everybody else what they should be wearing and kind of what went with their complexions and what didn't go with. You were more likely to hear what didn't go with your complexion. But she was a kind, thoughtful, generous woman, and she will certainly be missed by the Yorktown family, even though she's been retired for a few years. In speaking with her husband, and many of you know this because I did email you, he's very interested in establishing a fund that would be used by the third grade teachers for things that they would like to have in their classroom that we would not be able to provide them with, in remembrance of his wife and of her time here. He wanted all of you to know how much Carol loved her time, how much she loved Yorktown schools, and he certainly, he said the two great loves in her life were him, and of course, Yorktown School in the third grade. So I share that all with you only because he's a kind and gentle man and spoke to Florence and myself probably on 3 or 4 occasions since Carol passed. So we will remember her fondly, and thank you, Jackie, for asking for that moment of silence for her. So we do have good news tonight, and we have an opening of school report, and we have our wonderful middle school principal with us, Mrs. Horowitz.
Good evening, Dr. Napolitano, Dr. Connor, members of the Board of Education. Before we begin our good news, I just wanted to do our overview of MESMS and our opening. Mildred E. Strang Middle School, we have 3 grade levels, 6, 7, and 8, and our current enrollment is 794 students, which is a decrease of 19 students from last year. We currently have 75 teachers, 6 of who are music teachers, 3 full-time, and 3 that we share, 2 with the high school and 1 with the elementary, with Crampond. We have 2 art teachers and 4 phys ed teachers. 2 we share. 1 we share with the high school and 1 we share with the elementary school. We have 3 AIS staff, 4 reading teachers. One includes a special ed teacher trained in Wilson, 18 certified teaching assistant staff, 1 principal, me, and 2 assistant principals, Mr. Scott Shilen and Ms. Danielle Shiano, who's joined us this year. We have 2 social workers, one who's full-time and one that we share with the high school. The one that we share with the high school, she actually works with our life skills class. We have 2 psychologists, 2 full-time teacher's assistants, 3 part-time. Our library media specialist, Dr. Donna Barada. Our typical day is 42 minutes. We have our normal core curriculum, our specials, we have AIS and enrichment, and we have our teaming model, which works for our students. We have 3 teams on each grade level. Our special activities, we have 34 after-school activities to engage, enrich, and exemplify student interests. Our character ed assemblies and programs, we just did Unity Day, and we had our first motivational speaker, Mr. David Flood. We're looking forward to International Night, which is going to be November 19th. And our upcoming, we have Jerry Mariano, who's coming as part of the 6th grade reading Wander. We have our authors visits, the 3 authors, Shelley Pearsall for the 7th grade. We have Wendy Mass for the 6th grade and Joan Bauer for the 8th grade. We have core news, which you're going to see a sample of during our good news. And as usual, we have our Chromebooks being used for research and collaboration. And through a grant, we now have 3D printers in our tech department. They're very happy. And actually, they want to make something for you. You'll get it at the next board meeting. And with the library media centers being used every lunch period, the kids come up for reading, for Fab Lab. So Dr. Barada has opened up the library media center for our students. Our goals for this year is to increase our STEM activities, our STEAM activities, to build on interdisciplinary units, project-based learning, and one of my personal goals is to start flipped classrooms, starting with my flipped department faculty meetings. And our character education goal as a National School of Character, we now have to show how we're doing service learning. So it's reaching out to the community, increasing community involvement, which is part of why we did Unity Day and put it out to the entire community, is to bring everyone together as part of our character ed goals. That's it?
Yep.
Okay.
And Marie, maybe you might want to just mention to the board that you and Dr. Barado will be going to receive that recognition.
On October 16th, Dr. Barana and I are going to Atlanta to receive the National School of Character banner and award, official award, which I will present to the board officially as soon as they give it to us. They force us to come to the conference in order to get our banner and to get our recognition. We kind of like that, no.
Yeah.
So it worked out very well.
Marie, for those who don't know, can you explain what a flipped classroom is?
Flipped classroom is through video. The teachers can give a lesson, give an example of a lesson, and then in turn, when the kids come into the class, instead of hearing the lecture, they spend time with the discussion, the hands-on. So it really helps give more time in the classroom for hands-on activities for the kids to do research rather than just listening to the lecture first. So it gives more time in the classroom.
At this juncture, the board probably knows that every student in the middle school has a Chromebook. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and they do get to take the Chromebooks home.
Right.
And so it's flipping the classroom would be exactly as Mrs. Horowitz is explaining it. Maybe what would typically have gone on in the classroom would now go on in the home, and what would typically go on in the home would go on in the classroom. So it's just kind of reversing the roles and giving the teacher more time to engage the students, rather than have instead of the teacher being the sage on the stage, the teacher becomes the guide on the side, and the students have a lot of opportunities at home to get all of that done. So what they're really coming for is to kind of engage with the teacher in taking responsibility for their education. So it's flipping. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you. this time, once again, thank you for having us to present our Good News Night. Tonight, our good news will be presented through the core. During our core classes, students participate in lessons which are orchestrated by team teachers. The classes include STEAM language. Our students get introduced to Latin, living history by Mr. Di Pasquale, literature circles, and the core, which is run by Mr. Nansen. The core is filmed every day by 6th grade core students, and it's posted by Mr. Nansen on YouTube every day. So, for good news, here is the core presents good news.
Hi, Mr. Nansen. How are you? It's a sage on the stage.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm going to be sharing a student-centered activity that was completed last year. Around in February, our students wanted to create a new logo for our school. Now, the logo that we have been using for the past several years has been this logo, and through a series of monthly meetings. We have monthly meetings, character building meetings on Fridays that have been run by the Character Committee and also our PBIS Committee. So during one of these meetings, and this was really generated from the students wanted to create a new logo for our school. So the committees decided to, as you can see in front of you, set up some guidelines for a new logo. Many of the students worked in pairs, triads, or by themselves to carefully craft their ideas into creating a new school logo. After the contest entry deadline had expired, the PBIS committee screened the entries based on specific set criteria, and those specific criteria was the school name, about being safe, responsible, and respectful, along with an original idea. So the MES Student Council and the Alliance for Safe Kids paired together, and they whittled it down to 6 finalists. And those finalists are, if you look at the screen, that was our 6th place winner, our 5th place winner, 4th place, 3rd place, that's kind of crescendoing, 2nd place, and ultimately our 1st place winner was MES-MS. So that logo, as you can see, was chosen by the committees to represent Mildred E. Strang Middle School. It's visible around the school building, and also we decided that it'd be a good idea with the new assignment pads this year to put it on the back of the assignment pads. So a great job from the kids, a great committee. It was about a 2 or 3 month process of getting all these together and the kids working together, and they were very excited. I was very excited to share this with you tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
We'll go back to the show with Mr. Nansen.
Thank you, Mr. Schuyler. MES recently celebrated Unity Day, a day when students and staff of Yorktown schools stood united in kindness, acceptance, peace, strength, compassion, and inclusion. Let's go to the kids in the hall who are reflecting on what Unity Day represents to them.
Unity Day is a day where everyone is kind to each other. Unity Day means to me by standing up
to people who need help and being their buddy.
Unity Day is a day where we can help each other and make each other feel confident.
What Unity Day means to me is that everyone is kind to each other and we're all equal.
I think unity means to be thankful and kind to other people and teachers.
Unity Day means that we stay together as a community.
I think Unity Day is when people come together and have peace.
Unity Day means that everyone is strong and everyone should be kind to each other.
Unity Day means to me that the whole town is united and everyone's nice and happy. Unity Day means to me that everyone's together and united. Thanks, kids. In addition to wearing orange, students at String Middle School were also provided the opportunity to listen to youth motivational speaker David Flood. After hearing his presentation, we were able to catch up with him, reflect on the day, and get to know a little bit more about him.
Hey, Stratton Middle School, what's happening? David Flood here, youth motivational speaker, coming to you from the core. Wanted to come to you and just let you know how great a day I had here, or the time I've been here so far. Love working in middle schools. 6th and 7th graders are so punchy and fun to work with, and that's what I enjoy most about being here at Stratton Middle School. You know, when I was in middle school, boys and girls, I really didn't have a favorite subject. I was really good at math. But I liked all my subjects. I guess if I had to pick my favorite one, it'd probably be social studies, because I love learning about other cultures. I found that interesting. I know you guys might think this is a little bit weird, but my favorite hobby, it's really not a hobby, it's just something I feel like I have to do, boys and girls, is I meditate. I love to meditate, I love to read, I like spending time with my family. But meditation, I think, is so very, very important. There's probably a lot of words that can describe me, but I like to describe myself, boys and girls, as compassionate, tolerant, and pensive. Pensive means thoughtful, like I think about things a lot, probably more than I should. So compassionate, tolerant, and pensive. You know, the next question, boys and girls, is what do I want to be when I grow up? Well, first of all, I never want to grow up. I want to be youthful all the time. I love getting up in front of kids and speaking. It's so very, very important to me, the message that I bring. So if I weren't a speaker, I am working on a book right now, I would probably want to be a writer, but I love speaking, and I never want to grow up. You know, boys and girls, I've said this to you in the assembly today, and I can't stress this enough, and sometimes it's difficult to say this to kids, to 6th and 7th graders, but I really want you to know that your life is not about you. Your life is about all the people around you. It really, really is. And you can source your life from other people. And when you reach out to someone else and do something kind for them, you're really doing it for yourself. That's all about me, boys and girls. David Flood, youth inspirational speaker. I'm going to throw it back to the studio. Thank you.
Good evening. Throughout the year, we will have character education assemblies, fundraisers for members of our school community and other charitable organizations, as well as activities to increase service learning and community involvement. These are just a few of the many character and education initiatives at Mildred E. Strang Middle School. In the spirit of Unity Day, students and staff, as well as members of the Yorktown community, recently helped raise awareness for alopecia areata. We caught up with Mrs. Jen Whiteman and her son Scott, a 7th grader here at the middle school, who wanted to express their gratitude to those who helped raise awareness this past month.
Hi, my name is Jen Whiteman, and my son Scott is a 7th grader in middle school. September is National Alopecia Areata Awareness Month, and my son Scott has alopecia areata. Alopecia is an autoimmune disease which causes hair loss. Scott has had alopecia since he's 4. The National Alopecia Areata Foundation raises funds and awareness to hopefully find a cure someday for this incurable autoimmune disease. To help raise awareness in our community, we teamed up with the National Alopecia Areata Foundation and sold t-shirts in our area. With a combined effort of the t-shirt sales and the dress downplay, and other sales outside the schools, we were able to raise close to $3,000, which will be donated to the NAP organization for future research. I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone in the Yorktown School District, the teachers, the administrators, the students, for supporting Scott. On September 18th, the school buses were lit up with alopecia shirts, the hallways, the cafeteria. And it was an amazing day for Scott, and we are so appreciative of all the support we received.
Hi, my name is Scott Whiteman. I just want to thank everyone for supporting me and raising awareness. I think it is important to raise awareness because you should treat people with kindness, not what they look like on the outside, but how they are on the inside. And I just want to thank everyone for doing this.
In addition to our character education activities, MESMS classrooms have been alive with various activities to engage our students in the learning process. Interdisciplinary units, use of Chromebooks, and hands-on activities can be found in every classroom. In social studies on Team O, Mrs. Morella, Mrs. Brand, and Mrs. Lopez, in conjunction with art teacher Mrs. Osborne, taught students about early man and living in the Paleolithic age. Like archaeologists, they examined cave wall paintings to determine the story of their lives. They worked with their art teacher to create their own cave drawings. Let's take a closer look.
The prehistoric cave drawings give archaeologists clues about how early people lived, how they hunted, and what they ate. Our team created individual drawings that reveal how 6th graders in 2015 spend their time. Some drawings may include activities both in and out of school. Like the cave paintings of the past, each drawing is unique and tells a story about the life of each artist.
Cave paintings of the past were created for spiritual reasons. They didn't just copy what the animals looked like. The people were trying to connect with the animal spirits. They believed this would help their people find more animals to hunt for food.
This cave drawing shows a girl doing gymnastics, going on her phone to text her friends, doing dance class, and also going shopping.
If archaeologists was to find this cave drawing, it would show how 6th graders are obsessed with their phones and how most kids like to play softball.
If archaeologists found this cave drawing in the future, it would show that kids in 2015 like to play soccer.
If archaeologists discovered this cave drawing, it would show that kids after school like to play video games. If an archaeologist discovered this cave drawing, it would reveal that 6th graders in 2015 like to use technology.
If an archaeologist discovered this cave drawing, they would see that kids in 2015 like to play sports.
If archaeologists discovered this cave drawing in the future, it would reveal that 6th graders would go to school.
In science classes, students have been participating in STEAM-type activities designed to foster and promote science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Let's go to Mr. Manson, who's going to present you with the same Marshmallow Design Challenge you recently participated in. Good luck.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing? So in 6th grade, one of our initiatives for science is really to incorporate a lot of activities that engage the kids and get the kids moving and get the kids thinking. So we're trying to hopefully once a month get this STEAM-type engineering activity where we challenge the kids with some sort of goal. So like Nick just explained, the first activity that the kids had was to get a paper bag filled with everyday items, and they were given 18 minutes to take these items and create the largest freestanding tower that would support a marshmallow. And it may sound easy, how I can make a marshmallow stand with this, but it's very difficult. So to give you kind of like a first-hand look at what the kids did, I brought some paper bags again. The last time I was here, I brought paper bags. I brought some paper bags, and I thought maybe we gave them 18 minutes. You know, we don't have 18 minutes, but maybe 3 minutes. And we could maybe partner up, maybe groups of 2 or 3. I know there's a lot of elementary teachers here that can help. And we can maybe see, you know, just and a little bit of an authentic feel of what it's like to be in a 6th grade science classroom. So if you give me a minute, I'll hand out the materials, and then we have a stopwatch up here online, and maybe we'll take 3 minutes and see what we can do. Amazing, right?
Who are we working with?
I don't know.
You guys do it for us. It's a big deal.
You do? It reminds you of Lucy.
Oh, I don't know. There's a few more bags
Oh, we're working together?
Okay, before anybody gets started, maybe we could just quickly go over the materials. Okay?
We need the rules.
In your paper bag, you should have 20 pieces of dry spaghetti.
Are they gluten-free?
You should have a 3-foot piece of string. You should have 1 marshmallow. And then we're going to come around and give you about a 3-foot piece of Scotch tape. You can use as many or as little of the materials as you want. You can't use the bag, and it can't be taped down. It has to be freestanding. Okay, can't be taped down. Michiano, we have 3 minutes. I think they're ready to go. We ready?
Wait, but I like to. But I don't. I think tape is. I would just.
Good.
Wait a minute. Wait. I could have done it.
You can tape it?
Stand up.
You just can't tape it on the table.
Okay.
I have a question. Why is there one marshmallow?
Well,
We might need some tape.
well, can we do that? Or would that be bad? Let's see where the... Oh, my Lord.
Tape these two together.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't need the whole thing.
I got that. So now we have to put these two together.
You have just over 2 minutes. Just want to let you know, just over 2 minutes.
So I'm picking the right partner. How about if we do this? Let's make a stand for it. Okay, Chef.
Now, we also encourage to test it midway through. You don't want to invest all this time if you never test it. You have to test it once in a while.
Oh, I love that idea. That's so clever. It's like a Christmas. Oh, oh shit.
There. Tape this.
I guess you can tie it instead of tape it. Stop cheating. You're doing COVID.
I learned from my.
This is like the Tower of Babel. This is very clever.
Don't worry, they all cheat around here. We
It's like
know
the
that.
Tower of Babel.
I think we need another stand on the bottom.
Let's get this space. Wait, this space is not.
Let's see what happened. Shit.
But it's not very high. Wait.
Marshmallow at the top.
Oh, wow, you guys changed the design. I wonder why.
Hey, wait a minute, that's cheating over there.
good.
We have ours copyrighted.
The marshmallow has to be on the top?
Where'd you think the marshmallow had to be? You didn't follow directions.
It's almost different.
And it gets measured at the top of the marshmallow, wherever that is. Doesn't have to be on top, but you measure to the top of the marshmallow.
Good.
Good luck. Let's figure it out.
Oh, it's too bad. Take the shoe off.
Wait, we gotta hold this, make it, wait, we gotta let go. Let go, see if we can make it still.
Okay.
20 seconds.
The one that made it. Give it.
You don't stand a chance. These elementary people know exactly what they're supposed to do.
You have about 10 seconds left.
Hold that.
You didn't tape me thing. Wait a minute.
We're holding it. They got theirs held.
We got a little farther than you did, Mr.
Oh, maybe you have to use one. Oh, stop with the
No, the marshmallow does not necessarily have to be on
I
top.
have to use all the spaghetti.
You don't, no.
Oh, good, I was trying to
Yeah.
hide mine.
We tried. And I, yeah, really. They're going to have to hold it for you. Yeah, could you? And we'll just
Okay, we got a couple winners. One over here, very nice, and back.
We're trying.
Excellent.
We didn't do anything good?
Oh, no, they did. They did.
What about this one?
Turn over, Jack. Give me one.
And there. Well, remember, it's to the top of the marshmallow.
No, it doesn't work.
Wow.
So, thank you all for participating.
Hear those directions.
That's just a little snippet of, what like a STEM activity would look like in a 6th grade science classroom. And mentioning Mrs. Horowitz mentioning the flipped classroom before, the next activity that we have set up is going to come later this week, where the kids are going to be designing a boat out of clay to see whose boat will hold like the most paper clips. So, the thing is, we've been giving them articles to read and websites to look at about things like buoyancy and why does a boat float. So the idea is that they'll come and remember some of the things that they read.
Beautiful.
So anyways, we have just a few minutes left here of the show. And oh, I did forget to tell you, if you wanted to see some of the challenges that the kids experienced, we did make a little video called the Marshmallow Design Challenge Documentary. It's about 2.5 minutes, and you can really see how they did. So it's online.
That's going to wrap up things from our side of the good news. Thanks to all the students, staff, and guests who helped bring this episode together. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and please, as always, remember to be safe, responsible, and respectful. Good night.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good.
Hope you enjoyed our good news.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. So what I really liked about this,
Standardized tests are the fastest way to terrify any child.
who was that? Oh my God.
I know, but he's not appropriate for here.
Good.
It's okay.
It could have been worse.
Very well, Chris.
So, thank you very much, first of all, for coming and for presenting this wonderful good news. What I loved most particularly about this core presentation, and thank you, you've shared a few of them with us in the past, but this was really a great experience. One is that it involves all of the students, and I think that's really cool. And I like the idea of the reinforcement of the PBIS, be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. And I think there's no school that knows it like Mildred E. Strang Middle School does. And I also really appreciated the idea that you're working with ASK in the community. So again, we always talk about neighboring and partnering with community members, and that would be a great example. And I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Flood, and I really did think he sent a great message to the students on Unity Day. Now, I must admit, because when I went to school, the word wasn't STEAM, it was STERN. So I had a little difficulty doing this. I didn't pay attention. I thought that the marshmallow could be at the bottom. I really was hoping that one of the elementary teachers was going to come and bail me out, but I saw that they were too busy worrying about winning the competition themselves. So I can't believe it. Mine mine was up too until I heard that the marshmallow had to be on the top. And then I was hiding the linguine because I thought you had to use all 20. And we only used about 8, so I was trying to stuff my pockets with the other 12. And I think I said the sugar word, and I hope that's not on camera. I didn't mean to do that. So this was really very, very special and very nice. And I love to hear what's going on in the schools, as does the board. And this was a very exciting, good news presentation for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. We're so appreciative of everything that you do in the middle school, and it's exciting to hear about your flipped classrooms and all the STEAM projects going on, because it's all tremendous for the kids for learning. So thank you.
Thank you. And primary teachers, did you recognize any of your former students on? You did. That's great. And they're doing well. Yeah, and I was also very moved by, I must add, of course, seeing Mrs. Whiteman and Scott, and we've had that experience. We did participate in the fundraiser, and we were able to give $650 to the Alopecia Foundation and $650 to Sparrow's Nest. And I always feel good about the fact that we're able to help people that need our support. And when you see somebody like Scott, I thought it was so, he's an amazing, I don't know how many of you know him, but he's an amazing young man, and I think to hear him say, it's really about what's on the inside that counts. And when I correspond with Mrs. Whiteman through email, she had stated that when this had first happened to Scott, back in kindergarten, I guess I heard her say 4 years old, but I thought it was kindergarten, and she said that at that time in her life, she began to experience great unhappiness and sadness, and all of us that are parents in the room, we understand that when our children are happy and everything is well and they're safe, how happy and well we are, and when something is wrong, there's nothing that can make that better for us until we know everything is okay. And she was expressing that when this had first started, it caused her a great deal of upset, unhappiness, and anxiety, and when his hair would fall out, she would feel terrible, and then when it would grow back in, her spirits would lift. And this has gone on for about 5 times, I think she said, over these school years from kindergarten through 7th grade. And then she realized at one point that something that I sent home resonated with her. It was a reflection, and she had stated that she recognized in that reflection, and also in something that somebody else told her, there's no time like the present to be happy, and you can't allow these things to steer you in a different direction. And she owed it to Scott, to her other children, and to her husband to make this work. And as you see, they have made it work. And I think there's so many occasions that we've had over these years in our community to help people, and I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm very, very grateful that you do partner with us. This weekend, the YCT participates in Support Connections, which is the 3-mile ovarian cancer and breast cancer walk. And again, once more, you just kind of want to reach out to people who need your help. And sometimes what people really need to know is that somebody cares about them and somebody's interested in them, and that can make all of the difference in the world. So I thank you all, and I hope that you would extend that thanks also to your colleagues for always, reaching out, reaching into your pocket and saying, despite the times being economically challenging for all of us, that when we have the opportunity to do good and do the right thing and model that for our students. We always talk to the kids about being the change they want to see in the world and making a difference in the world, and we model that behavior for them. And I don't think there's any greater gift that we can give in the classrooms, including building spaghetti towers. I really thought mine was going to be the Tower of Babel, and it ended up being the Tower of Destruction. It really fell apart. So thank you again. I appreciate it. And Mrs. Horowitz and Mrs. Shiano. I don't know if you met the elementary school teachers, but you can wave. So this is the new middle school assistant principal, Danielle Shiano. Not that that's all of them, but those are the ones that count. Today. How wonderful that you rescued me. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we're on to next opening?
Yeah, I think, do you want to do the kindergarten presentation so the teachers can go?
Are you going to do the opening of, because we have, the middle, she did that.
Marie started with that, and then
we're not doing Brooks.
Yeah, but let's do the kindergarten presentation first so that the teachers can leave.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Are you going to stay? We're going to give you an opportunity to go, Mrs. Horowitz, and we know you have a trip, Mr. Nansen and Mrs. Shiano. I know you both live far, so it's up to you if you want to stay. If not, you can go. Okay. All right, so Mrs. Berry and Mrs. Ameling, you'll start with the kindergarten presentation?
I'll actually start.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, good evening. Look, are we on here? Is it on? Yes, I think you are on, even though you can't hear it. Well, good evening, everyone. We had a lot of excitement from the middle school, and we have just as much excitement to bring to you. Good evening, once again. We have a lot of excitement to bring to you from the primary buildings, and we've been planning for several weeks to present an update on our full-day kindergarten program. So with that, I would like to welcome Susan Berry and Deirdre Amerling to the microphone, and Mrs. Berry is going to introduce the teachers who are here with us this evening. Welcome, everyone.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. It is my pleasure to introduce our colleagues that are with us here this evening. We have kindergarten and first grade teachers, Julie Bracco, Julie Wan, Amanda McNamee, Allison Voch, Kathy Del Balzo, Bonnie Silver, Emily Manor. Those are our kindergarten teachers. First grade teachers are here with us as well. Liz Kelsey, Lauren Randecker. Oh, I'm sorry. Lauren is a kindergarten teacher.
Yep.
I apologize, Mrs. Randecker.
That we all saw the error.
You all saw that?
We did.
I
That's all right.
apologize.
That's all right.
Jen McCartney, first grade teacher. Adrian Casano. And also with us is Ray Cavallo, a third grade teacher and administrative intern who definitely supports full-day kindergarten and first grade.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Berry.
Everyone, thank you.
Okay. We have three presentation goals this evening. Our next slide, Yvette. We wanted to share with you the implementation of full-day kindergarten and also share student data as evidence of how our program is progressing. We invited our teachers who were so willing to come and so excited to come this evening to give some anecdotal evidence on our observation of full-day kindergarten, the program, the students, and the parents. And finally, I'll actually share some parent feedback that we've collected from the buildings. So with that, I would invite Mrs. Amerling to the microphone, who's going to share some data that we've accumulated. We're just at the beginning of collecting these data points, but we're happy to share this.
We are. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So we are fortunate to now have had one full year of full-day kindergarten, and while we are always collecting data, this slide does represent just a quick snapshot of some of what we have seen based upon the assessment of our current first graders as compared to last year's first grade students at this time. In the area of reading comprehension and using the Developmental Reading Assessment, or DRA, we see a 10% increase going from 87% of the students meeting benchmark in 2014 to 97% after full-day kindergarten. And that data does represent both buildings, Brookside and Mohansick. Another assessment we looked at was a part of the DIBELS, or Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. As indicated, our students in word fluency increased from 57% to 64%. Our math data is still being compiled, as our first grade students historically have taken that assessment at the end of October. We do use a district-developed assessment that focuses on both computation and problem solving, and we do look forward to sharing the results of that data with you shortly.
And I would like to share, as we put this information together, we felt the need to share with you. We'd love to present some continuous data to you in January after our students are in these. If we have 2 years of, we'll be almost having 2 years of data in the program, so that'll be exciting for us.
Well, we're looking forward to it.
We now would like to invite our teachers who have planned their what they're going to share this evening. So if you would come to the microphone, we'd be happy to hear some anecdotal evidence. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Bonnie.
So I guess I'll start. One of the most exciting things about having the children with us for the entire day last year was getting to know the whole child, what they like, what they dislike, what motivates them, what makes them smile. And before learning happens, children need to be safe, they need to be comfortable, and we had that opportunity to make sure that our classrooms and our program address those needs.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
I'd like to
Julie.
just share a little bit about some of the academic, some of the real gains we've made implementing full-day kindergarten. Not only can we offer more differentiated instruction, but there's actually more time to offer any kind of related services, such as AIS in both reading and math. PT, OT, speech, and English as a new language service, which is ESL. Before, when we were in a half-day program, these children either had to have services or they could sit in during the lessons. So now we're able to offer all of the services that they need to be more successful in the classroom. Instead of modified units, we are now going through the entire all of our units of full units of studies, and they also have access to the science lab, which they have never had a chance to even visit the science lab before.
Just to piggyback a little on what Julie said, academically speaking, one of the things that we're finding in the difference from half-day to a full-day program is that it's not so much teacher-driven. We're giving the students the tools, but we're giving them the opportunity to discover and to, figure out problem-solving for themselves. There's a lot more time for flexible grouping and partnership work, not just large group instruction, and then they have to go home quickly. And students who come in with solid skills, not just our AIS students, not just our top students, kids who come in with solid skills, we can further challenge them than we did in a half-day program because they're doing things every single day. And another big piece that we're finding is homework is used for a different reason now. We're not trying to fill the gaps of what we couldn't cover in a half-day program. We're really using it to develop routines and rituals, and instill that love of learning in our students.
Hi there. Another piece, besides having time on task, there's just more time. Even in the social emotional areas, when we have some center time at the end of the day, there are situations where children may have a conflict, and you actually have the time to make it into a teachable moment, and how they can voice themselves to each other to be heard, and how to do that in a respectful way. You have time to teach these social skills, which in a half day, maybe they didn't have that kind of downtime. Everything was so rushed. So they have more time and more tools now that they can walk away with and bring to first grade and second grade and so on. It's not so much dependent on the teacher to kind of figure things out for them, but the teacher can give them some tools now in their social relationships with each other.
Thank you.
Hello. Another area where we've seen many changes in the children is their social and emotional. And there's definitely more time for social interaction, as we were saying, more time on the carpet to have conversations, to get to know the children, to get to know their families. It's not, only 5 kids can share about their weekend. Now everybody can share, and we can, piggyback on conversations. And, I went apple picking. What are you doing with your apples? Different things like that. Who else made applesauce? Who made apple pies? Instead of a quick morning meeting. And this is helping to build the children's self-confidence. And you can see it with their interactions and how they're getting along and all their communication together. And also we're seeing an easier adjustment to routines and transitions. The lessons are longer, more structured, more deeper than they've been, and we're not rushing out to special or rushing to snack or rushing to do a quick combination of many different content areas together. And definitely more time to get to know the whole child, what they like, what they dislike, and things that motivate them, and everybody kind of gets to know everybody very nicely as well.
They also have their self-confidence boosted by having opportunities to practice these skills again and again and again. They walk in the morning, they feel really good about themselves, that they know, hang up your backpack, put your folder in, go sit at your table. Nobody has to tell them. Just see the look on their face where they just walk in with that confidence, which we didn't have an opportunity to really develop.
And Mrs. McNamee, just as an afterthought, Mrs. McNamee was a kindergarten teacher
before she took her leave to raise her children. We had a half-day program then, so now she's with us, and we have a full-day program, so she's been able to see the rewards in just a few weeks of school, which is the benefit of full-day kindergarten. So
It's quite a difference. It's wonderful. It really is. It was such a quick kind of a rush and, very stressful for the kids and for the teachers. And now, I was doing a math lesson the other day and the kids were talking about something with kind of bullying on the bus. And, we sort of stopped math for a bit, went to talk about that and, switched to a different teachable moment. So it was nice to have that time.
Good evening. To speak again about the children's social and emotional growth, we find that the children now have more time for social interaction. They actually get to experience recess like the rest of the school. They get to form and strengthen their connections, their friendships with their peers in their classrooms. They have time for more play in the classroom. It's not a lot, but there's more time for play, another time for them to have some social interaction with each other. As in the half-day program, we were just rushed to get the curriculum delivered to the children. Now they have that social time. They get to work on more problem-solving skills, communication skills, conflict resolution. So overall, socially and emotionally, as a whole child, we can further develop them.
Good evening. We've been talking about full-day kindergarten and how it benefits our children, but it also benefits the teachers in allowing us to work in a more relaxed atmosphere, that when we come to the classroom in the morning, it's not, what can I cut today because I need to get this in, or what do I need to wait to do later tomorrow because I don't have the time to do it all today. But being that and allowing the teachers to be more relaxed, we're able to converse with them more in the morning during our morning meeting time, and to give them the opportunity to share with us because they have a lot to say in kindergarten at 4 and 5 years old. Some of the things you don't want to hear, but a lot they'd like to say. So it allows everybody to be more relaxed. It allows the teachers to just be able to move in a smoother time frame throughout the day. It also allows the teachers, the full-day kindergarten teachers, to get to know the families, to have parents come in and share, to have parents come in and participate in celebrations, to have parents come in just to read, which allows the children to be so excited when their parents come in. So it does benefit the children wholeheartedly, but it also benefits the teachers.
All right, where else? First, we have to say full-day kindergarten made us able to build that.
Yeah.
We have more time to do hands-on learning.
You were steaming along.
Okay, good evening. We actually get to see the benefits of what our children are at the beginning of the school year this year, and what an amazing transition from coming from a full-day K right into first grade. We have been able to deliver the first grade curriculum faster than we've ever, sooner, not faster, but sooner than we ever have. We look back at our plan books from last year to say, where were we at this time? And we are actually weeks ahead. It's a couple of weeks ahead, which is phenomenal, because we have students who have retained a lot of the information of what they've already learned in kindergarten by repetition and having that constant day-to-day, longer periods of time, they're able to retain it. And we've seen that in foundations and math. The children are recalling those strategies. They're recalling the rules when we're just doing a quick review of the letters, and you come to the letter C, and they're like, oh, wait, that's C, that's K. But we remember CK comes at the end of a word after a short vowel. We're like, who was your kindergarten teacher? We need to give them a big hug. But they're remembering because it's more repetition. So our transition into our curriculum to start was really a lot sooner than we expected.
Even their writing skills are much more improved. I taught half-day K for many years when I came to Yorktown, and remembering them leaving K with one little string of letters across the page and coming to first grade doing the same thing. They're writing 2 sentences already. We're working on uppercase punctuation, but they have their thought down, and they're tapping out the words and not saying to you, can you spell it for me? Because they have the strategies that were taught prior, and we don't have to go back and do that and start from ground zero. So a little bit ahead of a game with that one.
I think one of the biggest things I've seen, and I too, with Jen, taught half-day K for about 13 years before coming to first grade. I was proud of the good job we did in half-day K, delivering our instruction, but always in the back of my mind, I thought, you know, is this child struggling because they just need more time with curriculum? Sometimes when you give them that more time and more consistent instruction, something's going to rise to the top if they're having some trouble. It'll become apparent. But it was always in the back of my mind. And now in first grade, you're knowing, okay, these children have been in full-day kindergarten. They've been delivered academically full instruction every day, consistently, with fidelity. And so now I think we're better able to say, all right, let's try to, you know, help this child with this issue, or maybe this is something we need to look into. So that's one of the biggest changes I see, that they're coming where a lot of, you know, there's not that guesswork in, well, maybe when they get a full day with more practice, you know, they'll get it. But that's one of the biggest things I've seen academically. Socially, I mean, I can just speak to, you know, a lot of the social aspects of kindergarten are so important. These are early childhood years, and we worked hard in that half day trying to develop them socially. We have seen the difference that it's made. They have, you know, it stands to reason when you have more time to socialize, you get better at it. And socialize in, you know, children socialize all the time outside of school, but socializing in the academic setting. So much of what we're teaching them is through teamwork and working in cooperative groups. That's the kind of socialization we're talking about as well as the playground. But in the classroom, can I work in a group? Can I use that, you know, vocabulary because I've had time to practice? So we see that this year.
But I was going to say, social and emotionally goes along with the whole buying lunch at school and going to recess. That has been solved by having full day K. They come to us and cry at the middle, is it time to go home yet? Is it lunchtime? I'm tired. We don't have that. The stamina to get through the whole entire day is that much better, so we're not spending as much time kind of coddling and talking them through moments where they're really unsure of, what am I doing here? What are we going to do next? Can you tell me what's happening, kind of thing. So that has gone to bay a little bit.
And we've seen less anxieties with them starting a full-day program in K and then coming into first grade. You always had that nervous jitters. They're more confident. They know their role as a student. They know their role as a learner because they're used to that in a full-day program, where before it was half-day. Now it's full-day, and they know they're used to being there. They know they come in. They have their routines, their classroom routines. We're unpacking. We're doing our morning work. We're getting ready for morning board. They got it, and it was within the first 2 weeks of school that it was just down. It was really down. So we have that less anxiety and that knowing their role as a learner. Great. What else were we talking about with them?
That goes with that.
The benefits to the teacher that they spoke about in K, it's the same in first grade, but the real advantage that we had was listening to the same language when they're giving instruction in K, that's carrying over as the first grade teacher. We're using that same language with them, commonality in foundations and math, and now every day, and they get it. When we turn and tell them to, you know, pair and share, or, you know, need and need, turn and talk, they know those routines. It's not something that we now have to start developing.
And they know them because it's been internalized, because in full day they've had time to practice it. Right. You know, I have to say, it wasn't that they didn't know it before, but they really know it now, and they've internalized, you know, what exactly that means, so much of that, so we can really hit the ground running. And so far, you know, we've gotten off to a great start, and we're very excited to watch as the year progresses. You know, what do we see mid-year? What do we, you know, where do we see our gains? And that's really exciting. The other thing I'm just going to add quickly, and I don't know if it's in part of any study or data, but typically, as first grade teachers, we have had great numbers of new students entering first grade before full day K. So I typically would have 8 or 9 last year, new children, parents who have sent their children out of our district for full day. When you have that amount of new children in your room, you're taking time to acclimate those children to foundations, to investigations, to the language. Right, of what they would have learned with us, with kindergarten. So I see a huge difference this year because I only have now 2 new students. Now, I don't know if you can, is that true data or not, but it's made a big difference, and I think it has in all of our classrooms, that we are not taking that time. We don't need to, because we don't have those huge numbers, or not so far this year. That'll be interesting to watch as well.
That's great.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I know we're moving on to parent evidence. I actually have 2 in the district. I had one who went half day, and I had my son who went full day last year. So I have firsthand knowledge. It's in my house, and I see it. I know I haven't changed that much as a parent. They both had the same kindergarten teacher. They both went to Brookside. I just feel today my son came home and, he took out his homework. He wrote his name. He did the entire page. He read all the words by himself. And I have to tell you, my daughter, not that she was any less bright, but she was rushed. And, there were some things that were important, some things that weren't. And reading was not one of them. She was in AIS until 2nd grade. And now she's reading beautifully, but I feel like there was a big difference with just, what kind of learner they've become. He's more relaxed, he's very confident, and again, I really attribute it to, the full day program, because, they both had wonderful experiences, and I'm very proud to be part of, as a parent in the community, but, I really am appreciative of full day kindergarten here.
Thank you, Mrs. Wan, as a parent and a teacher, and I want to thank the kindergarten and 1st grade teachers. They were wonderful stories, and I've had the ability with Dr. Napolitano to visit some of the kindergartens, not just today, although we did visit several of them today, and it is so evident how well the students are doing and what a great program this is for them, so thank you. We wanted to include some parent feedback in addition to Mrs. Wan's feedback. And so we gathered some information from parents, and these are the comments that came most readily to the surface. Parents feel that their children who attended full-day kindergarten were well prepared for grade 1. They felt that there was a wonderful balance between the academics and the social skill development in full-day kindergarten. There were comments about good communication between the home and school for full-day kindergarten parents who were new to this program. They really believed that the children left with an instilled love of learning from kindergarten, and there's nothing better to hear than that. Teachers knew their students, they knew them better, and of course, having had them for a full day. There was much more time for concepts to be taught in a very child-centered manner, and I think you heard examples of that. And finally, one parent really couldn't stress enough that a confident reader that our full-day kindergarten program produced, that I guess we need to correct that, a confident reader. Again, there was time for social studies, which is great. One parent really appreciated that. Time to work in the science lab, which you've heard. Time to reinforce concepts. If a student didn't get it, there was time for the teacher to pull them aside and reinforce those concepts. And this was interesting, and I think it was Mrs. Quisano who mentioned that because it was a stress on informal and formal social skills that they transferred into group work. And I know if you study jobs in our century, so much of it is based on collaboration and group work. So we're instilling this skill at an early age, and this is terrific. One parent said, I had my child entered as a non-reader and left as a confident reader from full-day kindergarten, and there was more time for writing. And finally, that the school district, this was so good to hear, we did an exemplary transition process. We used an exemplary process to transition to full-day kindergarten. So we thought the board would appreciate, and the community would appreciate hearing that. And finally, you've seen this before, but FDK, or full-day kindergarten, really is grounded in our belief system, which is education of the whole child. And now I'm going to invite Mrs. Berry and Mrs. Ammerling up to the microphone to please close our program this evening. Can we go to the last slide? Thank you.
So in closing, we appreciate it so much. And I think just as I was sitting there, there was one other point When we come to the bad weather, and I hope, Mr. Cole, that we won't be hearing your voice a lot, but what our students lost with early dismissals and latenesses and it's sometimes the busing in midday. So we're just so happy that they're really going to get the same amount of contact time and education as all of our other students. So we really do. We so appreciate what the board put into investing into full-day kindergarten and working through that process. So on behalf of the classes of 2027 and beyond, we thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. And I just hope you can read the comment on the back of the T-shirt. On the front of this T-shirt, I've seen it, it says, Class of 2027. On the back, it says, "We paved the way for full-day K." I thought that was great, so thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Did anybody have any questions or comments about full-day K? I am so happy that it's worked out as well as it does, and I would thank the administration for working so hard to help institute it, and thank you, teachers and staff members, for supporting it and really doing your part, so we really are truly appreciative of it. Did anybody have any comments or questions?
I just want to add one thing. I think that we've all known that they would benefit from it, but you were able to prove tonight that they really do benefit from it, and that we were, moving in the right direction and finally bringing it to Yorktown. So thank you, everybody, for your efforts and for tonight's presentation.
Yeah, beautiful. What I liked very much about tonight's presentation, I know that it was done for a specific reason, to show and give evidence, provide evidence that full-day kindergarten is superior and has created a difference in the education of the whole child. What I wish would be that this would be the kind of video that perhaps people in state ed would look at, because of several things that you said. Although, Mrs. Ameling, you started out with, which I thought is important, it's what we're all about in education, you started out with growth in scores, something that's very measurable. But then you quickly transitioned with the teachers to all of the other very important things that are anecdotal, yet very important when you're in the classroom. They may be anecdotal to people who aren't in the classroom, but to people who are in the classroom, when they're able to, and I think it was Mrs. Vogt who said, that teachable moment, that opportunity where you can fit into the day something that's going to go a lot further than your lesson plan that day, because it may teach something that they're going to remember way after they forgot that foundation point that you made, or the incidental learning. There was a great book that was out many years ago. I've referenced it once before. It's no longer in print, but it's something that we should all really purchase if we can trace it back to, I'm sure if we went on to eBay. Thank you. We probably would be able to get our hands on it, and it's called "The Geranium on the Windowsill Just Died, but Teacher, You Went Right On." And the picture on the cover of the book is very unflattering. It's a teacher who's wearing blinders, and all she really sees all day long is the students through the eyes of growth scores or test scores. Now, we're talking about, this book was probably written in the 70s, and they make the point of there's all things going on all around the classroom, but she never acknowledges it. And at one point, there's a big storm coming up, and the kids are seeing the clouds, and they're seeing the lightning and the thunder, and she simply says, "Draw the blinds." She doesn't take the moment to go with that. Amanda?
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
The gentleman who wrote that book was a professor of mine at college.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And
He was an amazing professor.
and when
Animated for life, and really was
it's a great book, and I used to use it when I was a principal, and even though I was a high school principal, it was just that idea of never losing sight of what's important. The children are important, and whatever that lesson requires. And I think that we're so caught up today in measuring scores, what the score looks like, that we're forgetting all of these important things that you just talked about: the social growth, the emotional growth, the character growth, the creativity growth, somebody mentioned kindness, and just the idea that you can socialize and be kind and actually intervene when somebody's not being kind, and kind of take the time to explain what kindness looks like and why it's important. So for me, although I'm convinced, you didn't have to provide me with a lot of evidence, what I regret is that this was just really about half day to full day, what I would have really liked was for somebody somewhere to be able to say there is so much more to just testing and scoring and assessing. And although that's important to us, and I don't ever remember a time in education when it wasn't, I think we were balanced, and I'm sorry that we've lost that balance. That has shaken education to the core, I believe. And I'm glad that we haven't lost the balance here, because again, at the end of the day, what's most important is that we're graduating students who not only are smart, but who also know how to use their smarts to better the world and make society a little bit richer by their presence in it. And I think that's what I really heard from you tonight. I saw a remarkable lesson, Deirdre, in your building. I didn't know they were first graders. You know how, Susie, you were confused for the moment, and I saw immediately when you introduced Lauren for her many years on first grade, and I went into Miss Graff's class, and I didn't remember for the moment what grade she was teaching. I went in under the impression she was teaching second grade, and this was probably about a week ago, so first grade teachers, you would relate to this. They were playing a game on the smart board. I don't know if you know the game, and I don't know it either, and I don't remember the name of it. They were already engaged in it. But at the bottom of the screen, the students had selected a number, and the number happened to be 18. And what Ms. Graff said to them is, look up at the board, and there were like 4 butterflies, 3 marbles, 6 pieces of cake. And she told the students that they would have to make the number 18. So Christopher was up at the board, and he went easy. He picked 5 marbles, he picked 5 crayons, and then he decided he was going to go for it and pick the difference. He needed 8, right, to make the 18, and he picked something with 10, and he put it in the box, and the box kind of doesn't function because it's the wrong number. So she asked him what went wrong, and they all knew, he picked the wrong number. And I think I did the same thing. He picked the wrong number. No, so at any rate, and he understood that he did that too. And I said, well, what number should he have picked? And they got the idea immediately. He needed something with 8. I said, that's right, he needed something with 8. And then one little boy raises his hand and he goes, but he didn't have to pick something with 8. I said, he didn't? He said, no, he could have picked something with 4 and 4, and that would have made 8. And then somebody else said, well, he could have done 6 and 2, and that would have made, and I just thought, I said, what a remarkable second grade you have, Miss Graff. And she said, these are first graders. And it was really pretty incredible to me that they really understood that. They really got that concept. Do you know the game I'm talking about?
I think I know the game you're talking about.
Okay.
I think I do.
All right, so it was really clever. The only thing she couldn't, because the game was new to her, once the box became discombobulated, she couldn't return it to an uncombobulated state. But I thought it was just really great what the kids were able to produce and say, and I was simply amazed. So I do thank you for coming tonight, for giving the evidence, and most particularly for providing the evidence through anecdote, because from my perch, that's what's most important to me. Scores matter. I think they've mattered all my career, but I don't think that they negate all the other wonderful work that we do, and that's my fear, that that's somehow been pushed aside. But you've revisited us with it, and it makes me very confident to know that that's what's important in our schools. That's what we can control. So I thank you for that. And Amanda, welcome back. I don't know, boy, you might remember Amanda McNamee. And I know that last year we talked about Allison Voch coming back, and you remember she had a baby in between, so we told everybody to get excess. And and you never know what you can bring back. And you remember Bonnie Silva for many years was teaching fourth grade and has been doing kindergarten for the past 3, I think, right, Bonnie? Wow, what a remarkable man. What a memory. So this was really great, and what great leadership we have in those primary buildings. So I don't know how often we really say to Mrs. Berry and to Mrs. Hameling how much we admire your work, how much we believe in all that you do with the teachers and with the students, and really making your buildings a community of learners that's so significant and important, and that's something you don't learn in school. That comes from the heart. So we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Oh, and I think the only person we didn't say hello to was Miss Horea. How are you? So she's one of our reading specialists at the middle school. And she was walking in the FDR park yesterday. I actually did 6 miles. I know it was only a 3-mile walk, but I didn't remember where I parked my car. So after all the buses left and after all the bands went home, even Peter, Paul, and Mary left, all the water left, I was still looking for my car. And finally, in desperation, I threw myself in front of a truck that seemed to know where he was going, and I just said, "Can you help me?" And he said, "What's your problem?" And I said, "I seem to be lost." But I was parked so far away that they were actually shuttling people, but I was too proud to get on the shuttle because I thought, they'll say, "What's the matter with this guy? He's got a shuttle." So while everybody was shuttling away and waving to me, I should have known that it was going to come back to bite me at the end, and it did. So while everybody else there did a 3-mile walk, mine was at least 6.7. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You can all go home. Bye-bye.
It's my pleasure, yet again, to introduce Susan Berry and Deirdre Amerling, and they'll present their opening day reports for both Brookside and the Mohansick School. Welcome back.
Thank you. Again, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight to present our opening of schools report. I am proud to present with my colleague, Mrs. Berry. While I will begin, we will share some information together as we work so hard to closely align our K-3 buildings. We have had a very smooth and successful opening of school. Brookside does have 4 grade levels, kindergarten through 3. We opened with a student enrollment of 499, and I am so proud to say that we had a girl, and we are now at 500 students.
Congratulations.
It's great. So this is a change, a small change from June, where we did have 496 students. We currently have 23 general education classroom teachers, 6 special education teachers, and our average class size is 21 students. Our specialists include 1 music teacher, 1 art teacher, 2 physical education teachers, and 1 library media specialist. Additional support staff include 2 part-time AIS teachers, 4 reading teachers, 2 speech teachers, 1 for the whole building and 1 that supports our special needs classes, 1 English as a new language teacher, a .5 enrichment teacher. We do have 17 certified teaching assistants throughout the building, plus 9 additional certified teaching assistants that support our special needs classes. And we do have 3 teaching assistants that support us at 3 hours per day. There is 1 principal, 1 nurse, 1 social worker that works 2.5 days, and 1 psychologist. In total, we have 23 general education classes and 2 special needs classes.
Hello.
Hi, Susan.
Mohansick is a slightly smaller school, K-3 building, 448 students. We ended last year in June at 412, so we did see quite an increase this year. We added 2 sections. We have 19 general education classroom teachers, 5 special education teachers, average class size of 22 students, 1 teacher for music, for art, and a library media specialist, and we have in PE 1.65 teachers. Our reading staff, we have 3 part-time AIS teachers and 3 reading teachers, 1 speech teacher, 1 English as a new language teacher, a .5 enrichment like Brookside. We have 19 certified teacher assistants, 16, and we have 3 who service our special needs classes. And we have 3 3-hour TAs, teacher assistants. 1 principal, 1 nurse, 1 social worker that we share with Brookside, 1 psychologist. We have 19 general education sections, and we have 2 special needs classes.
So for both buildings, a typical school day includes up to 90 minutes of English language arts, 40 minutes of foundations that supports our word study and phonics program, 60 minutes of mathematics, 45 minutes for lunch and recess, up to 45 minutes in a special area class in the areas of music, art, physical education, computer, or library, and 45 minutes in social studies or science.
We have so many special activities in our K-3 buildings. We're very happy to have so much support and so many wonderful events happen. Some of them are author visits. Our students visit the computer lab, the science lab. Our students work on Chromebooks and iPads and tablets. We have our library media center where our librarian collaborates with all of our teachers. It really is the heart of our school. We have the We Deliver writing program, letter writing program. The PTA supports many events and activities. We have many assemblies on many special topics, character education programs, and we do a lot of community fundraising. And as you know, the second year of full-day kindergarten.
So while we do have many, many goals, this year together we will be working closely on 3, which is 1, exploring opportunities to build STEAM experiences, 2, also highlight the excellent work of our positive behavior and intervention support program, as well as character education, through trying to seek recognition through a national award, much like the middle school, and to continually analyze student outcomes of the full-day kindergarten program to inform our total curriculum.
Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Do we have any questions? I had one. Can you, did you have one, Mike?
No, I asked.
Can you, you have the special needs classes in each of your buildings. Are they exactly the same? Do you have different programs in each building? Can you explain which buildings have which special needs classes?
Sure. In my building, I do have 2 small group classes. One is the 812 class, and that is headed by Ms. Vaglika. And I have a 1212 program that is led by Ms. Fry, Michelle Fry.
What's the difference between the two? I realize the difference in numbers, but the difference in terms of needs?
And staffing.
And staffing. So in the 812 program, the students do have, are significantly learning needed, and they do have, each child does have a certified teaching assistant to support those needs. So that's why the class, we do have those 9 CTAs. So 7 of them work for Ms. Vaglika, and 2 of them work in the classroom with Ms. Fry.
Okay.
Want to add anything in terms of the profile?
Lisa, why don't you come up?
Lisa's describing the needs of the students in there and the ABA, which is why it's a one-to-one based program.
The 812 class at Brookside started 3 years ago. Right now it's a K-3 program. There are 8 students in the room. They are students with multiple disabilities and on the autism spectrum. So they do applied behavior analysis, which is discrete trials throughout the day, requiring academic and social intervention at such a high needs that there is quite a number of staff to support that. The other class at Brookside is a 1212 class, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. They have more needs than you would see in a typical special ed class, but not to the same level as the students in the 812 class.
And that's one of the reasons, like, you have an additional speech teacher at that particular building. It's assigned to that particular class?
Yes, to both of those classes. We have an additional speech person that supports the needs of the students in both of those classes at Brookside, and occupational therapy as well. And in Mohansick, we have a self-contained class at the third grade level and a self-contained class at the 2nd grade level. Those students have some significant needs, but they're also mainstreamed throughout the day at a greater level than the students at Brookside.
Terrific. And these are students that, based upon their needs, they're put in the buildings based upon their needs, not necessarily based upon their geographic location in the town.
Exactly. At the primary buildings, we offer the programs at either one of the buildings, and if we have to bus the students from the Brookside side to the Mohansick for a 3rd grade self-contained class, we would do that.
Terrific. Thank you.
Just
Go ahead.
Curiosity. So every year the numbers of the students change?
In general or in special ed?
In special ed, like the special needs classes that you were describing, It changes from year to year how many kids are in those classes?
It does. What we do is we start tracking the students as preschoolers, and we see what students we're expected to have as the years continue, and we built this program about 3 years ago for incoming preschoolers, and we've continued to grow it as the need has existed.
Terrific, thank you. Any other questions? Nobody? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for
ladies.
everything
Thank you
tonight.
very
Yes,
much.
Appreciate it. What are we up to? Oh, we're up to public comment. Would anybody from the audience like to speak on agenda-related items? Nobody, okay. Okay, so Ralph, I guess you did the opening of school report, right?
We did.
So we're up to your next part?
Yeah, the next part, the board knows from time to time, Mr. DeGennaro, more frequently than not, will come up with a few additional clubs. I think the board understands and recognizes that as the student body starts to change, some of the clubs that were meaningful to previous students are no longer meaningful to the current students. So what he tries to do, and I think he did provide a sheet as per the board's request, clubs that were recently added, clubs that, as he's asking for, to be added this year, and then clubs that over the years have been taken out of the program because there's no longer that interest in it. What's important for the board to understand, and I know you know this, but maybe the community doesn't know it, so I would just say it for that purpose. All clubs that begin, that are new, they begin without a stipend. There is no stipend that's given to the teacher. There are units that are given dependent upon how many kids participate, the number of times they meet, et cetera. But these 3 clubs will run at no cost to the district. Eventually, what Mr. DeGennaro will determine is if there's something going out, he may decide that this would warrant getting a unit of pay or 2 units of pay, depending on how the club is doing. But it's always evolving and always, trying to meet the needs of the current students. And these were 3 of the clubs that they offered, that they were excited about, and they were able to get teachers to moderate. And, we'll keep you posted. But right now, we're just asking for your support. And again, there would be no money involved there's no expense to the district or to the budget.
Does anybody have any questions? Do we have consensus that these 3 clubs can run?
Sure.
Great.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right. We're up to personnel. So I have a few agenda items. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion that the following resolutions be approved. A, be it resolved that the board hereby authorizes the superintendent to execute the terms and conditions of employment services agreements with the non-represented district's tutor employees dated July 1st, 2015 through July 30th, 2016, as presented to the board at this meeting. A copy of the said agreement shall be incorporated by reference within the meeting. And B, be it resolved that the board hereby authorizes the superintendent to execute the terms and conditions of employment services agreements with the non-represented district substitute clerical employees dated July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2016, as presented to the board at this meeting. A copy of said amendments shall be incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 24th and the September 21st board meetings.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? From the business office, we have a motion to add an additional multifunction device to the existing lease agreement with the Connecticut Business Systems. This monthly lease cost for the equipment will be $280. The Board of Education hereby authorizes the president of the board to execute a lease agreement with CBS for this additional device.
So moved.
Second discussion. Just give an explanation of what we're doing, Tom.
We're adding another one of the Xerox work centers into the special education department of the high school.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Gifts, grants, and donations. A motion to accept with gratitude the following gifts, grants, and donations. Yorktown High School third grade teachers. Gil Jacobson is donating the Carol Jacobson Fund for Classroom Learning Enhancement, and for Crampon, BJ's Wholesale Club Adopt a School program of $500.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're up to board comment. Christine?
I just want to thank the district administration for working collaboratively with the building leaders in really presenting more than just an eye-opener as to all of the wonderful things that are happening in all of our schools, but particularly in our early childhood, because we all know that if you don't build a strong foundation, the house will fall apart. And it was clear and evident this evening that there is such a strong emphasis here on really working closely with our early childhood teachers, full-day kindergarten, first and second grade, so that it's not all about testing and test preparation, but the children will be ready and prepared when they get to those specific grade levels.
Great
So
point.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony?
Yeah, that was cool tonight. I have a question, actually, about the Chromebooks. Well, it's in middle school now.
Yes.
Will that trickle down, the fourth read, and eventually trickle down where we're all going to have Chromebooks?
We actually have Chromebooks in our elementary school. We have them on carts, and I wish Patrice was here. She would give you the exact numbers. We could get that for you. We have Chromebooks, and we have other devices in our elementary school. Not exactly one-on-one, but there is access.
Oh, do we have a goal based trying to get it to one-on-one someday, or
Well, now
we have that?
we've gone to the 9th grade, so
We've
it's
pushed up.
6,
Oh, it's gone
7,
up.
8,
It's gone up.
9th. Everybody has
So
their
we're
own
going up.
Chromebook.
Right.
And then down, as Dr. O'Connor is explaining, there are carts in the elementary schools.
Okay.
We're probably about 30 Chromebooks on a cart.
Yes.
So
nice.
that the,
33.
oh, great. There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
fabulous.
We have
Lisa?
3 carts in each building? All right, but
Okay,
there are
fantastic.
iPads and other devices as
Such a
well.
benefit.
And then I would just like to mention, we have Bring Your Own Technology at the high school as well. Patrice has organized that, and we've been doing that for a while, actually.
Was this
So-
the first year for 9?
Yes.
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 That's great.
And we've been training our 9th grade teachers on how to work with students that have Chromebooks in their classroom. It's been really successful.
Because there's great things going on in the middle school, because obviously they've had it, so.
So, not to prolong it, but they give lessons with it, and
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
teachers work
Yeah.
with it.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Eventually, maybe books will be
Yeah.
in the past.
No, they'll never be.
Well, you never know.
But they
Maybe
certainly.
a blended
A blended,
blended model is what we
model.
look for right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, but thanks for mentioning that.
We've seen some great lessons using Chromebooks, really great.
Wonderful. Karen?
The only thing to add was that I found it to be very interesting to see the progress that the first grade teachers saw. And it'll be interesting next year, because then we'll be able to see the second grade teachers as those kids move up. Because it's just so promising. And again, I'm just so glad and proud that we were able to put that in. So thank you again for
Yeah,
that.
we thank you.
for
We
your
thank you
support.
very much, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts. I thought the information around the kindergarten full-day K transition was excellent. It's everything that I had hoped it would be, and I thought that the proof was there. I also liked one of the teachers was talking about how the first graders now understand exactly what the day is composed of, because one of the concerns that was expressed to us when we were looking at full-day kindergarten was that it would be too much for the kindergarten students, the full day, they'll be tired, et cetera. And it seems like we raised the bar and the kids just responded very, very well, and I think that's indicative of what happens when you do that. So I thought that was excellent. I also thought the presentation from the middle school was a great incorporation of technology, and I also liked how we were able to bring the students to the meeting, but we didn't have to drag them out of their house at 9 o'clock at night and have them here. It really, to me, it accomplished a lot. We got to see the kids, but they didn't have to sit here for the whole meeting while we discussed a bunch of other stuff. So I thought that was a really good technique to use, and it kept everybody engaged really nicely. So thank you for that.
I just, now we've been able to see 4 of our 5 buildings in the last 2 weeks, and the amount of work that's going on and the amount of good stuff is just so overwhelming. I mean, the elementary schools are phenomenal, and I just love what kindergarten is doing and how it's trickling up to first grade, and to see the technology in the middle school, which has always been great with technology, but that program is just wonderful to see the news and how the kids are all engaged in it. It's just tremendous, and the interaction in the STEAM projects, and it's terrific. So thank you very much for everything you do for our students, because it comes from your leadership that we have such great staff and our students are doing so well. So
And I want to
thank you.
add one thing as well. I was Jackie's partner during this project. First of all, we didn't get 3 feet of string. It was only about 2. But I did ask Jackie if she had full day or half day kindergarten, and she had half day kindergarten because she does not work well with others. She took everything out of that bag and was telling me where it was going. Give me the tape, get the string. Okay. So the benefits of full day
And why did you
kindergarten.
want to partner with me?
Because I knew that you would do it really well.
Partnered with Mike.
Wow, that's throwing my pencil.
Florence and I tried to collaborate, and we were collaborating, we just didn't follow direction.
Yeah.
So, of course, we were doing our own thing. We ignored Mr. Nansen and decided we were going to make our own creation.
And I think Jackie just needed like 2 more minutes to
figured it out now.
recalculate the entire thing, because she's going to go home tonight and redo it just so that she could tell herself that she really won.
I would like to share why I was confused with the directions, because I never went to kindergarten. There you go. Thank you very much.
Ralph, Tom, Florence, anything to add?
We've said it
No,
all.
I think it was a wonderful evening.
It
I think it's
was.
always great to be with the teachers.
Yes, it was. So we have public comment. Anybody wishing to speak? No. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.